Right? Isn't that surprising you come in and like, hey, I know her. I love it. All right. So good morning, everyone. We are officially recording. It's officially starting Saturday, March 25th. So glad to have all of you here. Thank you so much for joining. Kind of following where we left off yesterday. Moving all my books around. So we've been focusing a little bit on business this last couple of days, and I want to kind of continue that focus. So lots of times what happens when we build a business, of course, depending on, I guess, your background, but often we have a job and then we decide that we want to own our own business. And it's more often than not, and the thing that we're doing or something similar. And then we move into this place of where we've worked for somebody, and then all of a sudden we want to own a business. But that's actually not what happens in our brains. What happens in our brains, we go, oh, I'm doing this for somebody else, and I really like doing this, but I don't necessarily want to work for somebody else. So I think I'll open up my own business. I'll open up my own business. So that's kind of how it starts, right? Oh, I'm going to open up my own business. So we go to open up our own business, but it's an employee mindset that's trying to open up the business. And what's required is a CEO's mindset. And we're not taught to be the CEO of our life or of our business. So there is a disconnect of mindset and skill set, because owning a business is different than actually working in a business, which is different than an employee. But there's a transition that's required, and some people can make the transition, and some people have more of a difficult time making the transition. So you can ask yourself kind of on a regular basis, am I working in my business? Because then you're like, so as a coach, if I'm working in my business, I'm coaching. And if I'm working on my business, I'm the CEO, and a balance of both will be required. So for me, it's even a switch of the brain, right? I'm coaching, I'm in my business, I'm working on my business, I'm marketing. I'm doing sales, I'm doing learning, all of those things. So if I'm building a strategy, I'm kind of working in my business, but I'm really working on the business because I'm building strategy. The moment I go to implement said strategy, I'm in the business, right? So it's cool if you can start going, oh, what role am I playing? Am I the CFO, Chief Financial Officer at the moment? Am I the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer? Am I the CEO, right? Am I the Chief Operations Officer? Or am I, doing marketing? Am I doing sales? I mean, however you structure your business. But I would encourage all of you as solopreneurs to create a business structure, right? As you add, eventually you might want to add people to your team. So who will you add to your team? Well, if you don't know what roles you have within your company, and you can have like roles like you're the CEO, or you're the president, or you're the vice president. I mean, it can be, structured like corporations, companies are structured, or it can just be, here's the role of salesperson, here's the role of coach, here's the role of, someone doing marketing. And then what's awesome about this is you can see that what all of the tasks that are under each role, right? As you transition from maybe working in your business to working on your business. And a lot of that will have to do with your intention from the company, your goals of the company, revenue goals of the company, and which ties into what is your spiritual vision of your company. Because what happens is we get into business and we make a revenue goal, because that's what we're told is important to do, right? And yes, I think revenue goals are important if that's important for you. There is a whole probably conversation we can have around what that looks like for a lot of people. So, okay, you're coming in, you're setting this business goal, and then what happens is you get really focused on your business, right? And everything's about business, and you're working maybe some long hours, and you're trying to get everything done, and you forget about your life. And then, 5 years later, Not that I've ever done this. You look at, your life and go, what the hell? I have no life. All I have is working in my business. And so if you build your business now, even if you have a business, but build it now with the idea of, what do you want your life to look like? What does your life look like? And then you structure your business around your life, not the other way around. You don't structure your life around your business, you structure your business around your life. So that can be as specific as, how many hours a week do you want to work, or how many hours a day do you want? How much vacation time have you planned in your calendar for the rest of the year? Are you going to take vacation when you have time? Because you know what, as we all know, entrepreneurs, it's like the end of the year, it's like, damn, I didn't take any time off. Right. So it's really about structuring your business from the beginning of, when do you want to go on holidays? Right. Or if you have young kids, when is school? When are they off school? Do you want to work around their school? What does that look like for you? If you want to travel at Christmas time, what does that look like for you? Or you don't want to travel Christmas, but you want to travel like whatever. So structuring your life, and then attached to that is your spiritual vision. What do you want your life to look like this year, next year, long term, right? So all of us have a desire for something. We all really have a purpose. Even if your business isn't your purpose, remember, I've talked about that. Your business might just be simply the vehicle to live your purpose. Your business doesn't have to be your purpose or your mission. That's where people get confused, right? So what is that? What is your purpose? What does the vision of like your really big, the one that you don't talk about with anybody, right? The secret thoughts that you have, what does that look like? Right? Because, and acknowledge them. And you don't have to, like, I have a different opinion. I don't think you have to go around telling everybody what your BHAG is. Big hairy audacious goal, your BHAG. I don't think you have to go around telling people that. I think that's for you. And if it feels good to share that vision, your BHAG, with someone, then absolutely do that. However, I say that with caution, because as you learn to expand, your dreams and your visions become lofty. That's the word I'm hearing. They become lofty. And not everyone's going to be able to see what you see. And what people want more than anything, the people that love you, they just want you to be safe and secure. Right? So they don't intentionally not want to dream with you. They don't intentionally go, oh, that's like a really big vision. So it's to be cautious, not out of fear or lack, but depending on how strong your conscious thoughts are, how strong, right, you have, because the only thing we can control is our thoughts, how strong that is, right? Because there can be people that you love that that can influence you, right? People who will say, oh, that's not possible, right? And again, only out of love, right? Not intentionally. I don't think people intentionally try to keep you locked up and labeled in the box that you've been in, right? So just be in awareness. So the first piece of this is to ensure that you're structuring your business around the life that you want. And if not, then just slowly get to that place, right? And know that, like, sometimes, like, I'm working on a couple projects right now, so my days are like super, super long, right? I start at 7 o'clock in the morning. This last week, I think I was done at 8 o'clock at night. That's unusual, right? That's not forever. And I knew that going into that I was going to have 3 months of really long days, right? And then after that, though, the days aren't long. The days are super short, right? It's like, so you can structure your life around that. You're structuring your business around your life. So that's really, I wanted to really, I guess, really make note of that. So once you understand what you want your life to look like, and you can take a look at your business and say, okay, here's the structure of the business around the life that I want. Then, and you either make a vision board, or you can make a vision statement, so you can imagine a day of. So this is one of my favorite exercises to do. I do it probably every quarter. And I just ask myself, imagine a perfect day in my life right now. And then I write it down, or often I do it in a voice memo. So I imagine a perfect day from the very morning down to the end of the night, like kind of what's happening. And using empowering words. So talking about what I want versus what I don't want. Right? If you like vision boards, Pinterest is a great place, right? If you don't use Pinterest for anything else, Pinterest is a great place to create a visual of the things that you want, the places you want to buy, the places you want to go to, right? A great place to dream. It's easy to like put everything and connect everything there. Unless, of course, you like the structure of cutting out photos and stuff. Right? Yeah, I know, Karen. I was like, right. So I still kind of sometimes like this that kind of structure. So so there's that piece of it. So in saying all of that, we get into, this is an opinion, we get into business because what we're looking for, I think, is liberation. Right. And oftentimes we'll talk about we're looking for financial freedom or time managed, like time freedom. So for me, I changed the word freedom to liberation, right? And so freedom might be a word that you resonate more with. And so if that's why you're in business, I want you to be clear on what freedom or liberation means to you. Like, what does it actually mean for you? Because when things get complicated, or you're experimenting in marketing and it's not going your way, you can go back to, okay, if my BHAG is this, and I have this liberation or freedom means this. And so it really does give us the opportunity to sit in what we want versus it's like something's not working out the way that I want it to. So anytime you feel like I'm doing this thing and it's not working, go back to, why am I doing this thing and what about? Because you literally change your state of mind. And then you go back to what you desire. And we know that, right, things, we have the formless substance of the universe and it turns it into form. And it does that through our thoughts, but it really actually does it through our emotions and our feelings. Like, thoughts are there, but it's the emotion and feelings. From a scientific perspective, right, if you think about, well, this didn't work and this didn't work and this didn't work, then for the rest of the day, you're going to see everything that doesn't work. Our brains are wired that way. So then if you look at something, so one way to look at it differently is, what worked really well about this thing that I did? And maybe what could have done differently? Not even what could have I have done differently, although I usually get there, like what could I have done differently, but what could have been done differently? And so if you don't know, then ask yourself, is it a skill set challenge or is it a mindset challenge? In marketing, it could be, and it's not quite, it is, but it isn't. So I'm cautious with my words. So just kind of let the words wash over you. In marketing, it's, if things aren't going the way that you thought that they should, I'm quoting here for those of you who just listen to the audio after, should go. Look at the offer, like what are you offering? Look at the message. Like, are you forcing the message? Are you using somebody else's messaging methodology? Right? Meaning, are you trying to fit in someone else's box because that box worked for them to convert leads to clients? So there's messaging. Look at your ideal client and then look at where you offered it. So it's kind of like wrong offer, wrong timing. And you know that I don't believe in wrong, but wrong offer, wrong timing, wrong audience. Right? And so it can be as simple as that. And I find the more that you try to fit into the box of somebody else, the more that it's not going to work for you. And so then remember we talked last week about there's a difference between resistance, I'm resisting this, and I don't resonate with this. So if you're resisting something, it's a sign, it is a sign that the universe, right? You have an opportunity to lean into the resistance and ask yourself, what am I resisting being, doing, or having? Right. And that can be, an awareness. So that's an awareness piece, or it's that doesn't resonate with me. Right. That way that's going on doesn't resonate with me. So if it doesn't resonate and we keep on telling ourselves, well, I just have to push through this, work harder, it worked really well for this person, so it's got to work really well for me because it looks like it's working well for everybody else, then that's a non-resonance, right? A resistance piece is, it just feels different. And for all of you, it'll feel different within your bodies depending on your human design, right? So I can't tell you what it will feel like for you, but as you tap in and tune into more of your intuition, more of your awareness, you will feel into what's resistant and what's non-resonance. So from this perspective of the marketing message, often your ideal client, right? And we talked yesterday about you might have several niches, right? Your ideal client is often you. And it might be you at a previous stage, right? Or you at your current stage. And the challenge when it's you at the current stage is you might be in resistance to seeking out clients that are in your current stage because you feel like you don't know enough to help somebody. And what I want to share with you is we often do the thing that we're working on. So, especially as coaches, right? So our business is structured around where we're at right now. And so if you just know that if you're being guided to share where you're at right now, and you're being guided that your target audience is you right now, know that you're being guided to offer it right now. Okay? And so, the resistance would be, I don't know enough. I have to know more, right? But by then what happens is then you're over here, which is, and I'm not talking like in just I guess for samples, right? For an example, right? And so then you may still want to coach people here, like where you're at, right? And so I guess my guidance would be in a structured strategy, you can go, okay, if I'm my ideal client, what were my pain points? So I'll talk personally. If I'm my ideal client, what were my pain points 2 years ago? What are some of the same pain points? Because there's some of them will be the same. What are the outcomes and objectives? What's like the solution? And it might be the same, but there might be some nuances to it, right? And so what does that look like? And you become really, really clear about what that looks like. And this is a process. This isn't a necessarily sit down and it's a one and done. So my personal opinion is your brand expands as you expand. So your messaging might change. You might change the name of your company. Like you might have to do all of these things. And then the look of it might change. The feel of it might change. Your methodologies might change. And so follow the guidance that you like from your inner self, right? From your inner self. So once we decide the spiritual vision, asking yourself how your company is structured. So, right, what does that look like for you? And this is important it's more important than you realize. If you decide to expand from a solo practice, right? So, or a solo business to a business with a team, you'll want to know what roles you want them to fulfill. And so if you don't have that kind of, it's like even structured a little bit, what I see happen is that it's people go into overwhelm, but they don't know what part of their business is overwhelming them. But if you actually structure the business, and it can be simply marketing, sales, and operations, like it really can be. And what are all the things, tasks under marketing? What are all the things under sales? What are all the things under operations? So it can be a simple structure. It doesn't have to be like this really, really complicated org chart, or it can be if that's exciting for you, right? So Sherry, I'll put in the comments, she said, I've said in the past that I feel like I'm evolving faster than my business can keep up with. Yes, right, that will happen. That will happen, especially if you're here, right? Right, especially if you're here, that for sure, right? So how do we build the business, the life of our dreams, the business being the vehicle? We define what we want. We create what's called self-actualization. And what we do is we implement. So I talked about the vision statement, but I want to really talk about what that looks like. So there was a Harvard study that was done, I can't remember, years ago. And some of you have been with me for a while, have heard me say this. There's a Harvard study that was done where some pianists were practicing the piano, and they had their had some headgear, right? And they were practicing, and the scientists watched the data, so their brains light up, right? And what happened with the neural network and neural pathways, and when they were practicing the piano. And then they would take the same same group, not a different group, and they would have them practice the piano in their heads, and the neural networks also lit up. And so they just kept on experimenting with like what happens with your imagination when you imagine as if it's happening now. The neural pathways are created. So what they came to the conclusion is that you could imagine the life that you desire now, and your brain creates the way for that to happen. And so the first time I heard this was, I think it was Michael Jordan was talking about, he shot, so yes, he was on the court and doing free throws, right, on layups to perfection in his mind, and then he would go on court. And so, because he knew structurally what he needed to do, but when he went to practice it, it wasn't as perfect in practice, but he practiced in his mind. He said way more, and he practiced like watts, but it was just this muscle memory on the court, but memory in his mind. So we can create our life around that and create your business structures around that. And so if we can accept that ease and flow are our natural state of being, what would a conversion conversation, an enrollment conversation be like for you? How do you want to structure? So we'll go use the word that everyone else uses. How do you want to structure, for example, your sales calls, right? Do you want a formal script that you follow? Does that feel really good for you? If it doesn't feel good for you, is it because you're in resistance to it or you don't resonate with it? Curves International, one of the things I learned from Curves, they had a very specific script that was created. It was developed by a woman who had a PhD in behavioral sciences. She had actually 3 or 4 doctorates. She was a former nun, right? So very well educated, left I don't think it's called a nunnery. I'm sure it's not called a nunnery, left that and then joined Gary Haven as part of the team at Curves. And so they created this enrollment program, and so that it was structured to overcome objections before they become objections, but really structured in a way so that a woman would feel comfortable, could see that some of her excuses were just that in a really loving way, but allowed us as the salespeople to enroll about 70% of the people that walk through the door, which is unheard of in the fitness industry, right? And it was because it was the way that it was the way that it was directed. And there was a lot of psychology, a lot of neurolinguistic programming around it, and it was beautifully done. And anybody who wants to know how that was done, let me know, because we certainly could take an hour one Saturday and go through it. Right. And so we were required in order to have the franchise to use it. So I got used to scripts, very like in my career. And when I'm working for somebody else, I really like scripts, right? It gives me like, where do I start? And so it's more of natural now for me to, like, I don't have a script now, but I have some of those base information. I think what's probably changed the most in my life in my business now is I don't feel the need to overcome someone's objections when I'm having an enrollment conversation, right? If people say they want to think about it, there is a way that I used to do it, and I'm like, absolutely, I understand, but can you tell me? I will ask, what can you tell me what you need to think about? And that's only a feedback loop for me, because maybe I missed something, because I'm not a linear thinker, right? And so, and that's why I'll tell people that. So I'll go back to this sales piece, right? So are you in resistance to sales because you think you're being salesy, right? And you don't want to be salesy, and that sales are uncomfortable for you, so there's resistance. And how can we move you into something that resonates with you so that you're comfortable in an enrollment conversation, right? Because there's a switch of skill set and mindset, right? It's like I said, it was last week, I said there's don't confuse follow-up with being too salesy, right? Follow-up is customer service. It's not from a sales perspective. All right, I'm just keeping track of my time. Oh, I always have so much I want to share with all of you. So let me kind of just go back to this study. So your brain, when you imagine what's going on, your brain already thinks it's happened. So it creates the neural pathways for it to happen more and more and more and more. So a fun thing you can do is imagine you're putting together your marketing strategy, and your proclamation of your vision, right? And you want to share that. Imagine people for you and whatever that would look like, right? So imagine people lining up, or imagine people like reading your message and being super excited about it. Imagine the feelings that they have. Imagine how you would feel if people just, on a regular basis, contacted you and said, I would really like to work with you, right? I don't know really what you do, but I really like your energy. I get that a lot. I don't really know what you do, but I'd really like to have a conversation with you. Cool, let's have a conversation, right? What does that look like, right? And having fun with it, and then owning it, right? And so the challenge can be, for some of us, then we want it now. Like, right? We're imagining as if it's happening, and then we want it now. And so there's that fine line between imagining it, knowing it's here, but letting go, right? Being non-attached to when it shows up. Because you've put it out there, and it will unfold the way that it should. And sometimes it's wrapped up in obstacles and challenges, right? So then that's not a bad thing. It's just an awareness of it doesn't necessarily look the way that we imagine it's going to look, right? I was sharing with Emily my story about how in 2021 I hired a coach, worked with a coach, highest investment I'd had in coaching, and I was in it for 6 months. And 6 months in, $24,000 later, and it was the wrong. I was in the wrong coaching, and just felt disconnected, discombobulated, so confused, right? And it took me some time to recover, right, through that. And I'm a much better, right, coach, not necessarily because of the experience, because I realized, oh yeah, I don't fit into a box. And the people that I want to work with actually don't fit into a box either. We create our own, not even a box, right? We create our own. And so that was the gift that I received from there. All right. Let me see if I missed anything that I want to share this morning. I think that is it. Yep. Well, there's always more that I can share. Like I have, notes and notes and notes. But today that's all that I'll share. So thanks everyone for being here with me today. I appreciate it. I will be here tomorrow. A heads up. Oh, the word of today was bold. Thanks, Sherry. I love that. Heads up next Saturday. So Leo is going into a fight on Friday night in Edmonton. And by the looks of it, there's some big names there. TSN is there to interview him. There's a lot of amazing stuff going on. So Rob and I talked about it. I think I'm going to cancel next Saturday's morning session because it sounds like we're going to be out till like really, really late. And so I think I'll do that. I'll let you know. I'm just giving you kind of heads up that next Saturday I might not be meeting with you. So that we'll meet, of course, the Sunday after. So, and Sherry, I'll be just like on top of the world for I'm presenting at Sherry's summit. Sherry, do you want to take a moment? Actually, do you want to talk about the summit? I'll put her on the spot. She might be away from her. Oh, she must be away from her. Awesome. We'll ask her tomorrow then. Perfect, everyone.
Sorry, no, I was just coming back to my.
That's okay. Yeah, I was screen? Like, yeah, walked away from the phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for